Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of our podcast, the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. I am your host, Jesse Disbro. I am the Smark in this situation, and the Mark in this situation is Matt Cooper.
We are the champions, my friends. Subtle reference to the pay-per-view this weekend.
Ah, okay, great. Because I was like that. The movie came out like weeks and weeks ago.
The Clash of Champions movie?
Yes, the Clash of the Champions. I think came out 100 years ago. That was like, wasn't that the one that had Qui-Gon Jinn as Zeus or something in it?
That was the remake of the Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, but then I think they made like a sequel to it.
Did they?
Uh-huh. And I think it was like it was Clash of something else. And I think it was it may have been Clash of Champions, it may have been Clash of Electric Boogaloos. I'm not sure.
Okay. Was John Cena in it?
No, John Cena was not in it. That was before John Cena became. You were much more likely to see The Rock in that one. That was like The Rock as Hercules era.
Oh
Of
yeah,
movies.
that was before The Rock found himself a niche in the Fast and the Furious. Anyway,
That was before The Rock took over every franchise possible that needed saving.
and behold, he is thus the most successful pro wrestler of all time.
Yep, definitely. If we were to do a top 5 countdown, we would have The Rock number 1, probably John Cena number 2 at this point, though Batista might be number 2.
Yeah, if we're talking about wrestlers who did it outside of wrestling,
Yes.
right?
And
As
then
far as
I think it then we start to really struggle. It's like maybe Stone Cold, maybe Hulk Hogan, maybe Goldberg.
it'd probably be Hulk Hogan. I mean, Suburban Commando was pretty okay.
Yeah, Suburban Commando was pretty good, but don't sleep on Goldberg's role in Universal Soldier: The Return,
Okay.
and when he also played an evil, murderous Santa Claus too.
Oh yeah, Santa Slays or
Yeah,
something.
something
I
along
think
those
that was in there.
lines. Yeah, so
Okay. It had been a while since we had an evil murderous Santa Claus movie, which those are more common than you think. It's like killer clowns and shit like that.
hmm
And once again, everything has come back to Doink. Anyway,
Yeah, well, we're gonna stay away from Doink this week. We're gonna talk a little bit about Champions this week, which Doink never was, as far as I can remember. Because Clash of Champions is coming up. It'll be here by the time you listen to this podcast for sure. Hopefully, maybe even past then. We've moved to a new format where we're releasing our podcast on Saturday. You can listen to it before any pay-per-views on Sundays or before the Raw. That way we can cover Raw on Monday, whatever happens on Tuesday if that's interesting, AEW on Wednesday, and NXT on Wednesday, and then SmackDown on Friday, and maybe, I don't know, whatever else has an impact from Impact, which is usually nothing, but maybe something will pop up. But that way we can get everything in, and you can listen to it and enjoy yourself and kick back with a brewski or, zone in while you're driving. Please don't zone out listening to our podcast while you're driving. So, speaking of zoning out, we're going to move on right now. We're going to move on to our first segment. It's called the Matt Recap. And, Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
so the Matt recap is the section where Jesse basically asked me what happened on Raw and what happened on SmackDown. Now, he asked me this because I don't watch Raw or SmackDown. I don't have cable television. It won't be an issue once SmackDown moves to Fox. Still not going to watch it. So I try to piece together what happened based upon the goings-on and social media and stuff like that. And to be honest, this week I really didn't see a lot. It seemed like they were go-homey showies for Clash of Champions. There was some King of the Ring stuff, but that's not actually going to get settled at Clash of Champions, is it?
No, it was originally scheduled to be finished. The finals were supposed to be in Clash of Champions,
Mhm.
but no, they pushed it off. And when you look at the card, you can understand why. There's a lot going on. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of championships to be had right now
I'll be
in the
honest, I was
WWE.
surprised to see that there were that many championships floating around in the WWE main brands. So Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'll tell you what happened. Raw and SmackDown were at MSG this week, so it was kind of this weird like special event that was also a go home week. So it kind of had some big highs, but
Oh yeah, the
some
Stone
big
Cold
lows.
Steve Austin came out and stunnered AJ Styles, right?
Yeah, he last week he said that he would moderate a contract signing
Mm-hmm.
between Seth and Braun because the last one the week before kind of fell apart.
Okay.
So he did, and the club, which is the OC,
Uh-huh.
decided to try to break it up. And while AJ Styles escaped the wrath of Seth Rollins, he ended up not escaping the stunner and sold like a goddamn champ. So,
Has AJ Styles ever been stunnered before? Or
no, I think this is the first time that he's taken a stunner from Stone Cold.
okay. Well, he can sort of tick that off of his bucket list then.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like somebody else who can say they can take stuff off of their bucket list would be Sami Zayn
Yeah,
because the
he was in the goddamn ring with the Undertaker,
yeah,
right?
exactly. The Undertaker was talking about like MSG and what it meant to the company and how a lot of stars were created here. And
Uh-huh.
now it's time for new stars. And Sami Zayn came out and was like, "Yeah, it's time for new stars like me, Sami Zayn. So, with all due respect, perhaps you should leave the ring so I can take over, as the new star."
So he told the Undertaker to leave.
Yes, he told the Undertaker to leave the ring. So
Yeah.
that never
Gee,
works
I
out
wonder
well.
what happened after that.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, Sami Zayn got killed, but that's
Yeah.
all right. It was a fun little bit, and you got to work. He got to work with the Undertaker, and that's how that. So we had those two like nostalgia show bits for working at MSG, but
And generally,
otherwise, yeah,
I will say this as an aside. That's how I like nostalgia to be done. These sort of like brief little bits where somebody eats like a classic move, but they don't really get buried. Like
hmm
the revival eating every Degeneration X finisher there was.
right,
So
and the NWO finishers just like just getting cooked. Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, that was the tough one. But they did a good job walking the line between, like I said, it was this like nostalgia special event kind of thing, but also go home. They
hmm
didn't they didn't make it a big thing. Stone Cold did come back at the end. There was this big old 10-man tag match at the end of
hmm
Raw,
hmm
and that's the Viking Raiders who are kind of in a feud with the OC. That's Gallows and Anderson.
okay.
Um, and then the tag team champions Seth and Braun Strowman, and their opponents Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, who I found out the portmanteau that they're using for that the internet is using for that tag team. Are you ready?
It's not Zood, is it?
Nope. It's
Uh, what?
it's
Wriggler?
Rudolph.
That's actually pretty good.
Yes, it's very good. The internet jumped on that super quick. Um,
Rudolph.
Rudolph. Yep, and Cedric Alexander has been kind of fighting AJ Styles recently.
hmm
Cedric actually fought AJ Styles right after AJ Styles got the stunner. So he came like hustling down because the match was next. It was booked to be next. So
That'd
AJ,
be funny if AJ was like still
yeah,
dizzy
he
from the
was. He
stunner
still
and
was, and he was like, "Whoa, whoa, I'm not. I can compete." Eventually, he got Cedric got the bell to ring, and they had a match before the rest of the OC came out and flubbed it. And then that's when the Viking Raiders ran out, and that's when somebody said it's going to be a tag team match later. So
that's it.
after the faces won, uh, Cedric Alexander pinned AJ Styles to win that big 10-man tag match at the end. But it wasn't Cedric
Okay.
Alexander's music that played; it was Stone
Uh-huh.
Cold Steve Austin's music that played. And he came
Okay.
running down and he threw everybody beers, and they were showering each other in beers and drinking beers, and foam was everywhere. At the end, it was a good old time.
A classic way to end Raw.
hmm
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay. And so I guess that set us up for Clash of Champions, which is tomorrow night. If you're listening to this,
Yes, it's the.
yeah, it's the
I
night
think
after we
we're
record this.
we're
Yeah, yeah.
getting we're getting used to doing the new Saturday. Generally I think I'm leaning towards this weekend when we
Mm-hmm.
reference a pay-per-view when we do a Saturday show.
Yeah, that
That
sounds like a
way,
good idea.
yeah, that way if they listen to us tomorrow, what is tomorrow morning before the pay-per-view, it'll still be this
Yeah.
weekend. And if they listen to us after,
Mm-hmm.
it's that this weekend that I don't like The one
Well,
where you reference the previous weekend as this weekend?
oh yeah, no, that I have a hard time explaining that to my students. But thanks for tuning in, everybody, to listen to us figure out how we're gonna address things on the show.
You're welcome.
We,
Anytime.
we do our planning on the air
We
sometimes.
like to
Else.
pull back the curtain and break kayfabe on the podcast every once in a while.
Yeah, just so you guys know, this podcast isn't real.
No, it's not real. We don't actually just sit here and make podcasts all day. It's
No,
not our
yeah,
9 to 5. We don't like wake
and
up and be like, all right, what's the podcast?
absolutely. And Matt Cooper, the Mark. Oh yeah, that's not my real name. I'm not
No,
really a Mark.
he's not really Mark. It's
No,
like
no, my name is Cooper Mark. That's,
yeah. So don't go
uh,
looking for him on the internet as Matt Cooper. You won't find him.
stop.
It's the
Yeah,
wrong
well,
person.
actually, thank God, there's a million Matt Coopers on the internet, so this probably still not gonna find me. All right,
So
so we
yeah,
have.
so that was pretty much Raw. There was just like go home stuff like Becky and Charlotte trying to work together against Sasha and Bailey.
I
There
saw
was
I saw a GIF of them suiting up, and they had like mean mugs.
yeah,
Well, Becky had a mean mug, and
I gotta
Charlotte
work
had
with
a.
you, and Charlotte's like, why do I have to work with you? Kind of
Yeah.
face. I think the best moment of Raw might have been Roman Reigns coming out and introducing a bunch of Connor's Cure kids.
Oh yeah, okay.
That
I
was
think
right
I
in the
saw
feels.
gifs of that too. I
Yeah.
mean, and I guess Roman Reigns can relate
Right.
to the Connor's kids people. So
It went over very well. Um, let's see, and then the next night was SmackDown,
hmm
and we let's see. Nikki Cross got called ugly by Mandy Rose for the build up for their match, the tag team
hmm
match. Yeah, a lot of people had that same reaction. Like it seems like I don't know if there's I'm not sure if there are any women on the writing team for WWE, but like it
maybe
seems
not.
like they have a hard time figuring out women's stories.
And I'll be honest, like having a shallow character call somebody ugly is kind of like bottom of the barrel,
Mhm.
but it could work
Right. It's not
if you handled it well. But
yeah, it's not terrible. It's probably
uh,
within character,
yeah,
but like it'd be nice to see something a little like maybe a little more depth to it.
yeah. And let's be honest, none of the women are ugly.
Like yeah,
I mean,
exactly. I mean,
so
if we found out that Mandy Rose is calling Nikki Cross ugly because Mandy Rose is insecure about her own looks, maybe
that might
that's a
work.
little more depth that would actually
Yeah, instead it just comes across as lazy.
yeah, it's just petty, mean girls shit
hmm
that like was cool when it was a movie. Like what
I
is
mean,
that 10, 15 years ago now?
I might have called Nikki Cross insane, or
Hmm.
I don't know. It seems like it'd be hard to hurt Nikki's Cross feelings by calling her ugly, if she's crazy as she is, you
No.
know. So
No, it's not that
uh,
not that
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Otherwise,
okay.
there was a big old knockdown drag out fight between Roman Reigns and Eric Rowan ahead of their
Uh-huh.
match coming up. And a bunch of people just got some wins that made them look good, including Kofi Kingston replicating the spot the last time he was at Madison Square Garden in a feud against Randy Orton by doing a boom drop through a table.
Nice.
Oh, and there's one other thing that happened.
Oh,
Chad Gable was supposed to be in the final match, the match to figure out who was going to the finals for the King of the Ring,
okay.
against Elias.
Okay. Oh
But
yeah, Elias is injured, isn't he?
yes, Elias got injured.
Oh, that sucks.
So they actually had to pull him at the last minute. So Chad Gable was trying to figure out who would be the opponent. He went to Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon thought about it, came back later, said that that Shane McMahon would be his opponent.
Oh, and did Shane McMahon go out and eat like 12 million suplexes?
Yes, and
How cathartic.
yeah, and he lost immediately.
Good.
After special guest referee Kevin Owens, who Shane McMahon had appointed,
Uh-huh.
because if said that if Kevin Owens called the match correctly, he would remove Kevin Owens' $100,000 fine. You remember that from like a couple of
Uh-huh.
weeks ago?
Uh-huh.
But as soon as Shane McMahon lost, he said, "No, no, 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 no! This is a 2 out of 3 falls match." So we had more Chad Gable versus Shane McMahon, but it still ended up correctly. There was no Shane didn't win a fall, and he ended up tapping out, despite Kevin Owens kind of going, "All right, maybe I shouldn't have fast counted and kind of doing some more slow counts for Chad Gable instead.
Okay.
But that's not the big thing. Guess what happened? Guess what?
The Firefly Funhouse?
No, well, that happened too. There was Stranger Danger on the
Straight.
Firefly
What?
Funhouse. Yes,
Um.
all the
s-
puppets just yelled "Stranger Danger! Stranger Danger!" Um,
Okay.
because they were like Steve Austin's a stranger. Who is this guy? I haven't seen him before, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And Braun Strowman said, strangers are just people who you haven't made friends with yet.
Braun Strowman said that.
No,
Kevin Owens.
Bray
This
Wyatt.
you're pulling a me. It's
Yes, Bray Wyatt. No, I was thinking of old Wyatt family relations.
no, I get it.
So
Okay, so the Firefly Funhouse had a thing.
yeah, it had an episode, and it wasn't shot in the same set as the previous ones. You could tell that it was live on at MSG because it was like two pieces of blue drywall with like
Okay.
one of the pictures from the set in
Okay.
like flat behind Bray
You
Wyatt.
know, that's a little disappointing for this
It is a little
bit.
disappointing because the
Yeah.
quality was so high before with this segment. So I kind of just it pulled a little bit away from it for me. It was still good. It was still fine. No, what happened was Kevin Owens got fired.
Oh, okay. Bye, Kevin Owens. We'll never see you again.
Yep, that's clearly what's gonna happen because every time
Uh-huh.
someone gets fired in the WWE, they go away forever.
Yep. Goodbye, Kevin Owens. I was happy to see you. I wonder where you're gonna pop up next.
Yeah, there was actually right before the show went off, there was an AEW chant after
Uh-huh.
he got fired.
Uh-huh. Sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure Kevin Owens is trolling the AEW.
Yep.
Although it would be funny if like Sami Zayn came out to get eaten by the Undertaker because he's leaving, and then Kevin Owens got fired that night, and both the two of them can go hang their hats in AEW. But that's probably not what's happening.
That's not at all.
So,
There's a
yeah.
really great clickbait headline on WWE.com, which was like the latest update on the Kevin Owens firing situation. And
Whenever you see crap like that, you know it's
it was
kayfabe
literally
thing.
like one line that said, neither, both said no comment.
Okay. If you want to continue the storyline, folks, go to WWE.com. Latest update on Kevin Owens firing. Click. He's still fired. What?
Neither had a comment. Like it doesn't even like it doesn't move anything forward.
Isn't this like the third or fourth time Kevin Owens has been fired since I started watching wrestling
Possibly.
again?
It's the third or fourth time Kevin Owens has been fired or threatened to be fired.
You know, they really need like one of those status websites like they had for Abe Vigoda, rest in peace. Brief context: Abe Vigoda back in like the 90s or 80s or whatever, there was a rumor circulating that he was dead. Abe Vigoda is sort of a character actor. And this was back in the 80s or 90s where that shit is sort of harder to disprove if it gets out there. But he wasn't dead. He was alive. And so it became kind of a running joke about Abe Vigoda being dead. So there was a website on the internet called Abe Vigoda Status. And if you went to it, it had a picture of Abe Vigoda smiling, and it said Abe Vigoda is alive. And the day Abe Vigoda died, and this is a website from like the 90s that had been there for 20 years. The day Abe Vigoda died, pow! That website updated immediately. That person was on the ball, and it had Abe Vigoda with little X's over his eyes. It said Abe Vigoda's dead. But at any rate, we need a website like that for Kevin Owens. It's like Kevin Owens status. Kevin Owens is hired, smiling Kevin Owens. And then when they fire him, Kevin Owens is fired. Sad Kevin Owens.
Good job dancing around the resetting the counter on dead wrestlers by just mentioning dead character
Dead
actors
celebrity.
instead.
Yeah, no. Sorry, everybody. Abe Vigoda, may he rest in peace. He was a fine man.
Yeah. So 205 Live was a go home show too,
Mm-hmm.
and NXT this week we got to see the Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler, and actually Rhea Ripley looked really good against Shayna Baszler, so that should be fun to watch when NXT goes live in another couple of
Nice.
weeks. And then it was a little bit of go home for them too. They put over, just like last week, they put over some people who they think will be stars when the TV show comes up this week.
Now,
So.
I saw that they had arranged the match between Matt Riddle and Killian Dane
Mm-hmm.
it's like a street fight or an ODQ or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think
for
it was
the
no
first-
holds barred. Yeah, for that
Okay.
first match. So that's going to be on there, and the North American Championship match between Velveteen Dream and Roddy Strong It's going to be on there, and the
Mm-hmm.
number one contenders match for the women's title will be on there.
Mm.
So it should be
Um,
very interesting. It should be a good watch on Wednesday.
so I think, well, I do have a question. And this is off topic, but what's the deal with Matt Riddle? It seems like, I see him on social media, and he seems to be, some wrestlers they keep up kayfabe on social media and stuff like that. But Matt Riddle seems to be going out and actually like picking fights in some instances. He
No,
seems to really
I think
genuinely be.
Matt Riddle's gimmick is that he shoots.
His gimmick is that he shoots. Oh, goody. Okay.
Yeah. So
Great.
you understand
Yeah.
what a shoot is, right?
Yes, I know what a shoot
You're
is.
not that marky that I have to tell you that
A,
it's
a
being
shoot
real.
for everybody out there is when they're being real, and there was a thing back in the fucking twilight days of the WCW where everything was like a worked shoot,
Hmm.
which meant it looked like they were shooting, but they weren't. It wasn't work, and a work means it's fake. So as soon as you said that, my
Well, the thing
latter
is,
days
like,
of the WCW trauma
well, the
reemerged.
thing is, Riddle isn't like work shooting. He's like actual shooting, but only on like Twitter. Like he kind of rolls back into the bro dude who loves to fight, kind of like casual, like chilling out bro
Yeah,
who's
that's what
happy to
I
kick your ass. That's kind
honestly
of his character.
that's what I liked. Seeing him being like kind of a jerk on social media, I'm like, it sort of undermines that character for me.
Yeah.
Although I don't know what arrangements they have. He might go to Brock Lesnar and say, "Yo, bro, I'm gonna talk shit about you on social media. Is that okay?" And Brock Lesnar's like, "Yeah, fine."
No,
So
Brock Lesnar. I don't think Brock Lesnar cares as long as he gets paid.
I really don't. And and I will say that I heard rumors that Matt Riddle was like challenging Brock Lesnar to a fight. And I know you're both MMA guys,
Hmm.
but Brock Lesnar is like 60 pounds heavier than you, so
Well, it's just it's the easy target because it's easy to get that put that as like the dream match in your head. So yeah, that's what Matt Riddle is. We'll see what that's like next week. But before that, we have a pay
Mhm.
per view.
Yeah. So this weekend is the weekend currently is Clash of Champions, and so Clash of Champions is something Jesse's been looking forward to in the sense that it's a night where a bunch of titles are defended, but
All
they've
not a bunch.
not a bunch. Yeah.
All the titles are defended. They stopped
You,
doing that when they did the brand split. They made it just one brand. So instead of Night of Champions, which used to be the name, they moved to
hmm
the old WCW name, Clash of Champions, and they made it just like here's a couple of champions and a whole bunch of other matches. So
mm.
I'm really excited that it's back to the format where it's all the championships being defended.
And I looked at the card, and we mentioned this earlier in the show, but holy shit, there's a lot of championships. There's 10 matches, just
Hmm.
championship defenses by themselves. And
Well,
there's one. There's
there's two singles titles for the men and a tag
uh
title for the men on each show. So we're already at
yeah.
six.
Oh yeah.
And then we have the two women's singles titles and their tags. So that's another
hmm
three. And then the divisional title, the 205 Live. So there we are, 10.
Yep. And there it is. And there's one non-title match between Roman Reigns and Eric Rowan. It's a no disqualification match that's probably going to end in 5 seconds. So
Right.
I'm going to throw that out there and say this will just be the big reveal of Luke Harper coming back.
Yeah, some
So
people are thinking that maybe Daniel Bryan's still the guy pulling the strings. It could also be a big knockdown, drag out fight like we had on SmackDown, and Rowan comes out on top looking like $100 million, but most likely Roman wins.
and it'd be nice. I mean, there's a place for those sort of fast and furious beatdowns, especially if they're no DQs, and that kind of viciousness is generally okay sometimes. But I really don't see that match going very long, and it's the match I care about the least, to
Yeah.
be
So
honest.
speaking of
So,
matches you care about the least, I'm gonna rapid
uh-huh,
fire at you all the
uh-huh,
ones that have the least amount of build on the television show
okay,
coming up. So here we go.
okay.
Cruiserweight Championship: Drew Gulak versus Humberto Carrillo versus Lince Dorado.
Okay, Drew Gulak's gonna retain.
Yep, that's probably where it's
Okay,
going to be. Humberto
uh-huh,
Carrillo is pretty awesome. So if you do get a chance to watch that match, look at him in particular. He's a high quality high flyer.
Okay.
Bliss Cross versus Fire and Desire.
I'm rooting for Bliss Cross just because I'm a big fan of Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Mandy Rose, don't really care about. Sonya Deville, I'm behind her 100%, but I'm still a bigger fan of the other two.
Right. I think we're all in that boat. So I think and it's nice to
Yeah,
see that championship kind of stay where it is for a little bit and be defended. So
yeah, and
we'll
also
go with
Mandy
that.
Rose called Nikki Cross ugly, so she has to get revenge.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's just that simple. The New Day
yeah,
facing the Revival for the
ah,
SmackDown tag teams.
oh, the revival's gonna get buried again.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. That basically the only build up for this was that the Revival teamed up with Randy Orton for a bit, so they just kind of smashed these teams together at the last minute.
It would be nice in some alternate universe if the revival having. And I watched a video the other day that described just how much the revival's been quote unquote buried in recent months, years. It'd be nice if they came out with an upset and beat the New Day. I mean, I think the New Day could survive that. They wouldn't lose any real renown. And then
Absolutely.
the revival has the tag team championships, and they're like, oh, thank God.
Well, the thing is, we just watched the Revival lose the championships, but that was the Raw championships. So perhaps it was just kind of like a transitionary period to get
Yeah.
them to SmackDown so that they can take the SmackDown championships and end up like working the SmackDown division there. Because the SmackDown champion tag team championship division is pretty weak. So to have
Okay.
them run it for a bit would be great. So I'm with you. I'll take the Revival with the win there.
Okay.
Nakamura versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship.
I super don't care. I don't know any other way to say this. Honestly, the Miz has been sort of like, you know how in Back to the Future in that photograph Marty's siblings were fading away. The Miz has been doing that a little bit recently because of his angles with Shane McMahon.
Hmm.
Shinsuke Nakamura, however, has vanished off the map. So I'd rather they just have a good match and Shinsuke retains, and then
And
something goes from there.
the
Yeah,
rebuild is on between the two of them. Yeah, that's fair. I think
yeah.
I'm with you
Because
on that.
I mean, if the Miz wins it, then Shinsuke Nakamura poof, gone, right?
And okay, yep, yeah, poof, pop.
I think the Miz has a bit more staying power than Shinsuke Nakamura at this point, just because he's been around longer.
Right. His
So
face turn has been really rough.
yeah,
Um,
so
so it would be nice for him to get something to kind of push it forward, but he can probably wait a little bit longer to get that. Last one for the quickies. AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander for the U.S. title.
AJ Styles.
Yeah, I think it's not the age of Alexander quite yet, but I think it's going to be a good showing, and we'll get ready for Alexander to move
Yeah,
in there at some point.
and I think if we're gonna have AJ Styles and the OC running around being heels, then one of them has to have a championship. And it looks the best on AJ Styles right now, and it makes the most sense on AJ
Hmm.
Styles right now. So
All right, so here we go. We're going to start with the women because they're kind of tied together here. You have
yeah,
Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Charlotte Flair. So the
I
four
was
horsewomen in matches.
I was looking at this, and I don't know what the bout order is gonna be, but I feel like one's gonna wind up interfering with the other, and I feel like it's gonna be Bayley and Charlotte Flair go first. Bayley will retain, and then Charlotte Flair or Bayley loses the title, whatever. Um, I actually don't think that's important. I think later in the match between um, Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, that Bayley's gonna come out and fuck with shit, and Becky's gonna either lose the title or whatever.
Hmm.
So
But why not both? Why not Sasha Banks fucking with shit in the Bayley Charlotte match?
yeah, I mean that was my original plan
And
was
then
that
the two teammates end up with both women's titles. And who knows, maybe as we go forward, they challenge to get their tag team titles back.
and it could be
And
interesting
they
because
take all
then
the titles.
yeah, and it could be interesting because then you have Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch who might be united in injustice but still despising of each other.
Hmm.
Um, I've been hesitant about Becky Lynch losing because how it might impact her the man gimmick. But if there's interference and fuckery, then
Hmm.
so
Fuckery, the great
yeah.
equalizer.
No, out of all the matches on the card, I zeroed those two out for fuckery, which is what I call run-ins and DQs and stupid horse shit that winds up in the wrong person winning or disqualification or whatever. So,
So Matt is forecasting a high amount of fuckery for these matches.
oh yeah, no,
Rolling
yeah,
in from the east
mm-hmm.
is the big cold front of fuckery.
God,
Uh,
yes.
so Kofi versus Randy Orton. We got the SummerSlam matchup. They did the whole family thing, and they kind of pulled that back. They kind of Randy Orton's kind of been like doing different things to get Kofi's goat since then. So it's kind of just been more about things that will make Kofi emotional and angry as they move to this match.
If I were to look at the long game here, I might have Randy Orton win, and then Kofi Kingston like win the fucking Royal Rumble and challenge him at WrestleMania for it.
Again,
But
to get the big championship thing. Maybe they put Kofi in the main event this time, since
yeah, yeah,
he was pretty much the main event at last WrestleMania. It's the best match.
yeah, oh yeah. Um, that if I were looking at the long game there, but in reality, I think Kofi's going to retain, and that Randy Orton angle is going to go away, and then they're going to have to figure out something.
All right, yeah, that's fine. It is, we'll see how it goes with that. Maybe somebody will pop up. Maybe the King of the Ring winner will be from SmackDown Live. Maybe it'll be Chad Gable versus Kofi Kingston. Who knows?
Okay,
Um, and then we have these two matches are intertwined: the Raw Tag Team Championship match and the Universal Championship match, because it's
okay.
Rollins and Strowman versus Rudolph, and then
Uh-huh.
Rollins versus Strowman later for the Universal title.
Uh, you know what? It depends on the order of that. If Rollins and Strowman goes before the tag team match, which I doubt would
I
happen,
seriously doubt that'll happen as well.
I think that'd be some. I think that'd be interesting though. If that went first, and the title changed hands, and then they had to work together later.
Mm.
Um, that could cause some fun. You know, some fun sort of chemistry during that tag team
I
match.
think there'll still be some fun sort of chemistry during that tag team match anyway.
Oh
I
yeah,
understand where you're getting it. Actually, there'll be a different layer to it if they've
yeah.
already had a match and one of them won the world title from the other one. That would be a completely different layer. But
Hmm.
I also might just see that being, Seth Rollins like immediately attacking Braun Strowman and just like the match being thrown out. So I don't know about that. What do you
Yeah,
think? How do you think it's gonna roll out? How do you think these matches are gonna end in terms of champions?
well, I've got two predictions. One, Rudolph is going to win. That way, they get the tag team championships, and you don't have Seth Rollins walking around with two championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I think Seth Rollins is going to retain everything, and Becky Lynch is going to lose her title, and then you have Seth two belts, uh, and girlfriend Becky no belts, and they're going to start arguing backstage, and it's going to be awful.
and
Yeah,
then and Becky Lynch then challenges Seth for the Universal title and wins it. There we go.
yes,
Perfect.
yeah, booked it.
Booked it. We did it. And then,
Uh,
yeah, just as long as it doesn't end up being Becky Lynch versus Braun Strowman going
I mean, there's
forward.
there's there's no universe in which that could be credible, unfortunately. But
I don't
yeah,
know. Becky's tough. She's the man.
I mean, you're the man until you run into the monster,
Yes.
and then you get eaten. I guess. I
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
no,
know.
that's fair. That is very fair. That would be a storyline even if the man was a man.
Yeah, I almost called him the Beast, but I was like, wait, no,
Nope,
that's
that's
Brock
a
Lesnar.
different one. Yep, a
Yeah,
different monster.
let's get our nicknames straight.
All right, so the mark is saying that there will be one. I'm looking through two, three or four, five championship changes.
Yeah,
Both tag
five.
team titles, both the men's tag team titles flipping.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly one or both of the women's titles flipping,
Mm-hmm.
and then the WWE Championship flipping.
I mean, it's a pay-per-view entirely of championship matches. Having half the titles swap sounds reasonable to me, but we'll see.
I think a third is probably closer to what it'll actually be.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're not. I don't think you're that far off on most of them. So I think that both tag teams are very simple places to change the titles over, And I think Becky Lynch losing the title makes a bit of sense right now too.
Hmm.
It'll actually, if you put, two heels together as the quote unquote power couple, in the Boston Hug connection, then
Well, you get
it
you get a
allow
lot of mileage out of that.
yeah, you do, and it also helps Becky build up a bit more as the the tough face that isn't going away, even
Yeah,
though
because
she's got insurmountable odds because there's
I mean,
a tag team against her, and she doesn't work well with others.
and to be honest, with some exceptions like Goldberg, for example,
Hmm.
you don't necessarily want somebody to get up top and then always win. There
Hmm.
needs to be adversity. There needs to be the grit that creates the pearl. So, you
Hmm.
know, um, there you go.
Yeah, so that is that. We got some other stuff coming up. Let's see. So we are October the 8th, I believe, is the first SmackDown Live.
Okay.
So we're only a couple weeks away from that, and then right after that'll be AEW. So this will be the last week or so where you're kind of still living the same schedule because NXT will still be on Wednesday. It'll just be live instead of live to tape.
Hmm.
So enjoy your Thursday and your Friday off because now you're gonna have wrestling every other day, basically.
Yep. What a time to be a wrestling fan.
What a time! What a time! So yeah, I think that's about all we have for today. What do you think, Matt? Do you think
I
it's
think
time for something else?
I think it's time for a hot tag, hot take. So at the end of the program, we have the hot tag, hot take. That's where we tag in and we get to say whatever the hell we want about wrestling, whether it's directly related or tangentially related. And the other person isn't allowed to comment or they can say something, but they can't talk shit. So my hot tag, hot take for this week is that turns out JBL, John Brayford Bradshaw, whatever his name is, that's actually Bradshaw from the Acolytes. Huh. I did not know that. I just found that out this week. How do you like them apples? It's quite a character transition from the Acolytes, where he's walking around with like symbols painted on his chest, and becoming JBL, rich cowboy asshole. So, yeah, there you go.
So hot tag, hot take. Yeah, that's what happens when you have a gap in your wrestling fandom. Is sometimes weird stuff like that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I have one thing that I really want to talk about, but just a quick side note, guys. There was a dueling Baron Corbin sucks chant. So
Uh,
Corbin's finally getting over as a heel. He might be the kind of heel. He might be the anti John Cena, the one that all of the like super smarky people, or maybe just the regular marky people, hate as a heel, and the super smarky people hate as a character and a human. So it's what a time, what a world we live in. Speaking of John Cena, though, he was actually cast in a new movie. He is filling the WWE wrestler quotient in James Gunn's new movie, The Suicide Squad. So he will play one of the Suicide Squad characters, whether he's one of the people from the organization that runs the Suicide Squad, or whether he's going to be one of the villains. That's open right now. They just announced all the people who would be there, and it is going to be a sequel. So Margot Robbie will be in the movie, most likely reprising the Harlequin. So I'm interested. It's John Cena's had a pretty good run for characters, so this should be fun.
okay. Now it's time for the finishing move. At the end of each episode, I come up with a finishing move inspired by the things we've been talking about. They're usually tag team finishers, and this week the name of the finisher is Draped in Gold. Both wrestlers grab the opponent, right? They gorilla press him into the air. Then he's tossed over to one wrestler who does a backbreaker. Is that allowed still? I think. Like how Bane broke Batman's back. Yeah, he does a backbreaker. The other one catches him on the rebound. DDTs. Pow. 1, 2, 3. Draped in gold.
Yes, because it's Clash of Champions, which means that the only match we're involved in is a championship match. So we're going to take those titles back. We're going to buff them up real nice. We already did the joke where we don't lose them last week, so I'm not going to do that joke this week. Instead, we're just going to take them through airport security, because we're noobs, and that's what you do when you win your first title. That's not
Beep
what you
beep
should
beep beep beep.
ever do with your championships when you win them. Well, while you're trying to find the footage of the Big Show talking about doing that when he first won the championship, you can all listen to our podcasts on markandsmark.podbean.com, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Facebook.com/markandsmark. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at markandsmark, and you can also find us on the Daily Smark website. It's a clearinghouse for other podcasts, so once you're done listening to ours, why don't you check out a few other ones? And if you're on our Twitter, give us a follow and follow back a few other people who put together good podcasts. We have a lot of people that we follow that do good work. So check them out too if you have a little spare time. Otherwise, for Matt Cooper, I'm Jesse Disbro. Enjoy!